Welcome, 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 everyone, to another episode of Politically Speaking. Today is going to be jam-packed with a lot of good information, but not only good information, good tea from good people. We got not only a special guest, we got a special co-host. If you are following along on this journey, usually we have the wonderful Kirsten with us, the wonderful Em, and then myself, Erica. But Emily has stepped aside for this episode. She has finally welcomed the new bundle of joy into the world. And I can officially say that because I checked her social media and it was live. So got to make sure she don't come for me. I was like, let me make sure if I slip up. So nonetheless, she is kicking back, enjoying life, enjoying that downtime with her newborn and family. So in the meantime, we got a jam-packed session with a wonderful guest and wonderful co-host that will be joining and partaking. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and kick it off and jump right into it.
All right. So this week, our co-host is one of my favorite people, Justin Smith. Even though I'm mad at him that he left me in Greenville to go to law school, I'm thrilled to introduce him to all of you. So welcome to Politically Speaking, Justin. We'll start with, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how we know each other, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Erica, for inviting me to be a guest co-host to fill in for the phenom that is Emily Mayer. I will not be able to fill her shoes, but I will do my best. Kirsten and I have known each other for several years now, and Erica and I have known each other for several years, but we all met through Young Dems. Kirsten was chair when I came in, and that's how we got to know each other. And eventually I became chair of the Young Democrats of Greenville County, and we were the #1 chapter in the state for multiple years. And we have done incredible work, but this isn't a podcast about the Young Dems. But Kirsten and I have been good friends for years, and Erica is such a powerhouse who I've gotten to know, and we've become such good friends. And obviously what they do from this podcast to boots on the ground to, build progressive power in South Carolina. And I'm happy to be a part of that effort.
Thank you, Jay Money. I like that introduction in case someone in the back didn't hear that. You know what I'm saying? Period. That's how you're welcome. Okay, welcome to the grill.
Yes. And I don't know if you caught Erica with that little J Money reference. So a funny story. My husband's name is also Justin. So it gets a little confusing sometimes if I'm talking about Justin. People are like, which one? Like, so Jay Money, our guest host tonight, we went to see Taylor Swift together in Atlanta, and I was on the phone with my sister, and I was like, yeah, Justin and I are in Atlanta to see Taylor Swift, and she's like, Justin is going to see Taylor Swift? And she thought I was talking about my husband, and she was like horrified. And I was like, no, J Money. And I think, like, I wasn't even there when J Money came about. It was like both Justins talking, and I think our friend Kelly, maybe, I don't know. I think I had gone to bed. I might have had too many drinks that night and gone to sleep. We were in Columbia, and I drink and get tired, and the rest of them stayed up and chat. I think that's where J Money came from.
I think so, at Jim Clyburn's world famous fish fry. I think that's where that originated.
All the best things at the fish fry.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love it. So
we love you, Congressman Clyburn, if you're listening.
Wouldn't that be something? So if you hear J Money, that is our co-host tonight. And yeah, he's in my phone as J Money, and my husband says he's in his phone as J Money too. So yeah. All right. So I decided to come up with some fun questions to ask J Money, Justin, to help our listeners get to know him a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So I haven't shared these questions with him. There's no wrong answers, but definitely some answers that our listeners might judge you for later. So are you ready?
I'm in the hot seat. I'm ready.
Okay, good. All right. So first, pineapple on pizza, genius or a crime against food?
Genius, it's delicious. Like, who I mean, the hate for pineapple on pizza is so forced. It's delicious. Hawaiian pizza, pineapple and ham, cheese, you can't beat it. It goes very well.
I'm
Perfect.
not sold on warm pineapple. I like cold,
I
room
know.
temperature pineapple, but once it gets, like, hot, I don't know about that one.
Okay, I'm gonna push back on that because what about fresh out of the oven pineapple upside down cake? That is delicious.
Oh,
That is
Nice warm
good.
pineapple.
Touche, touche.
yeah.
Maybe because it's
Okay.
sweet and the pizza is more like a savory hot. I don't know, but yes,
Mm,
that's a
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
valid.
Okay. So, yeah, these are kind of silly questions, but fun. All right. Favorite Taylor Swift song?
Hmm. I'm gonna have to go with Karma.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That was not the one I expected.
Which one did you expect?
The player's gonna
I
play, 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 play.
well,
Play.
well, yeah. But no, Marjorie
Oh,
was,
that's also a very good song. That's definitely in the top 10. No,
yeah.
top 5. Mhm.
All right. We're some Swifties over here. All
I know.
right. It are you Erica?
I love me some Tay Tay, girl. I
Okay,
like Tay
good.
Tay.
Gotta be part of the group. All right. If politics were a reality TV show, which role would you play? The strategist, the drama stir, or the voice of reason?
Oh, goodness. Well, I would not be the drama starter. I'd probably
Oh,
be the
I
voice of
think.
reason.
The
Yeah.
voice of reason.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I feel like
no
I'm
shade,
pretty
no shade.
level-headed and I can, be an emissary between groups and, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team because you know how Democrats like to fight each other, and
Mhm.
sometimes we forget that at the end of the day, we're on the same team, and if we spent as much time fighting Republicans as we fight each other, we might do a little
Mhm.
bit better.
And that's why you are
I
in
love
law
that.
school. You know what I'm saying?
I
That's
was
exactly
literally
why.
just gonna
You
say
see how
that.
he
Yes.
collected that answer, like just wrapped it up with a bow? I know that's right. Right. When you walk across the stage, make sure you let them know the price has gone up. Okay? Let them know.
That's
Right?
right, that's right.
Ain't that the truth? Um, Clapping when the plane lands, sweet tradition or embarrassing behavior?
Embarrassing, no, who are we clapping for? The pilot can't hear you. It's just like when people start standing up immediately when the plane lands. You're not getting out any
Oh,
faster.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
drives me
no,
nuts.
just
yeah,
chill for a minute. It's
yeah.
fine. Keep reading your
Mhm,
book, play on your phone, turn off airplane mode. It's fine.
mhm,
You will get out faster if you just wait for the flight attendants to tell you to go.
mhm.
Just chill out. Yeah. Or
I agree
people
on
that are
that one.
people that clap at the end of a movie at the movie theater. And it's like, are we clapping for the person that's playing the movie?
Right.
Like, what?
It's not a live performance. Like if you're in a play, absolutely. But I mean, who are you clapping for?
Mhm.
Exactly. All right. So, final question. Would you rather date someone who chews loudly or who texts with keyboard clicks on?
Keyboard clicks for sure. Mhm.
Really? Oh, no. I'd much
Mhm.
rather the choose loudly
Oh,
What?
no,
because I
no,
feel
no, no,
Absolutely not. No, 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 no,
no,
no,
no.
no.
I I was raised in a household where smacking is just you don't do it. You don't do it.
Right. Mhm. Yes. And then I
well,
feel
the
like if
keyboard
if
clicks
I can
drive me
hear you
nuts.
chewing, my eyes are gonna wanna, like, look in your mouth. Like, what are you chewing on? I feel like it's gonna
Mhm.
grab you, like, "What is that? It must be good. My gosh." Like,
Mhm.
I love it. Well, thank you for participating in my
thank
silly
you. Yeah,
questions
those are good questions
Of
for
round.
sure.
course. That
Yeah,
was
I just
fun.
like to keep things lighthearted and,
Yes,
silly.
that was a good opening piece. So now that we have those icebreakers out the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what brings you always back to the conversation. This is the piece that we always make sure that we include in our episodes, which is the information. So we're going to talk about the hot topics and make sure that we are presenting it from a place of conversation, because that's what it's all about. We can all agree to disagree if needed, but nonetheless, we are going to make
Definitely.
sure that we keep the information fluid and open, and then most importantly, discussion, because that's what this is all about. We need to talk about what is going on in 2025. Okay. So many things you would think was like 1925. No, this is 2025 conversation. So let's go ahead and knock it out. I'm going to hand it over to Kirsten. Kirsten, take it away.
All right. So, for our first topic tonight, wanted to talk about the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. This Friday, August 29th, is the day that Hurricane Katrina first made landfall in New Orleans. And I wanted to talk about it for a couple of reasons. One, my degree is in healthcare administration, and my particular area of interest is emergency management. So, how do we plan for disasters so we can save lives? And I also think it's important to discuss right now because of the dangerous direction we're heading with cuts to FEMA and the National Weather Service under Trump. So, August 29th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina makes landfall. The levees fail, floodwaters rise, and for too many, help never comes. Katrina didn't just expose a natural disaster, it exposed a man-made one. The failure of local, state, and federal governments, and the racism that is often embedded in those response systems. So, within this disaster, there was huge economic inequality that left mostly Black, poor communities stranded on rooftops, in attics, or at the now infamous Superdome. When the levees broke, about 80% of the city was underwater, and about 3/4 of Black residents experienced serious flooding, compared with half of white residents. Um, Between 150,000 and 200,000 people couldn't evacuate, most of them being elderly, Black, poor, and without cars. Um, and 93% of those people were Black. In the end, more than 1,800 people lost their lives. So, the Netflix, or not, I don't know why I said Netflix, National Geographic just did a really great documentary about Hurricane Katrina that's on Hulu. And I learned so much that I didn't know. And I know a lot, like I read a lot about Hurricane Katrina just because I think there's so many lessons. But one thing was all these people that no longer had homes, people were forced onto airplanes by military with weapons drawn, and they weren't told where this plane was taking them. So these evacuees ended up in multiple states, hundreds of miles away from their homes, in places where they didn't know anybody. So that's awful. And the federal and the local government in this situation, neither one were prepared, although they should have been. There were warnings. After 9/11, FEMA was absorbed into the Department of Homeland Security. And by 2005, it was barely functional. Still not really functional. But so in the 2 decades since Katrina, we've seen billions poured into rebuilding. But who got to rebuild is really the story here. So the federal government created the Road Home program to help homeowners rebuild. However, the way that they allocated funding, of course, severely disadvantaged Black and mostly poor communities. So the way it ended up being doled out, people in poor and Black neighborhoods ended up having to cover about 30% of rebuilding costs themselves.
That's crazy.
And in wealthy areas, they only had to cover about 20%. And this was all set up, I mean, from the beginning of the 1900s, and when you had redlining and what areas they would essentially allow Black people to live and what areas Black or white people could live in. And the ones they gave to the Black people were the ones under sea level or more prone to flooding. So they faced a disadvantage from the beginning.
Sounds about right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And 10 years after Katrina, while 70% of white residents felt New Orleans had recovered, only 44% of Black residents could look around their neighborhood and say the same. So here we are, 20 years later. Climate change is accelerating. Hurricanes are stronger, wetter, more frequent, and yet we're seeing dangerous rollbacks in our disaster readiness. Trump has initiated deep cuts across multiple federal agencies, including FEMA and the National Weather Service. But laying off forecasters, emergency planners, and climate scientists isn't streamlining or making the government more efficient, as Trump would claim.
Right.
It's sabotaging.
Mm-hmm.
So, and FEMA was already stretched thin to begin with. So, and these decisions most affect Black, brown, poor, coastal communities. So that's going to continue to, it's just going to continue to repeat itself. Yeah. And so, my train of thought, sorry. Okay. So, more storms are definitely coming, and it's definitely something that we're going to see happen more and more frequently. And, we talked about the floods in Texas recently and how the National Weather Service there had been gutted, and that cost lives, many of them. So it's just something that another failure of the Trump administration that I felt like was worth
discussing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel
So
like
what are
the
your
image,
thoughts?
the image of Katrina should truly terrify people. I don't know what other word to summarize it, but I did not really. You could be like, yeah, there's a flooding going on, but when I saw the images of it, I was like, what? That is not what I was relaying when you said there was a flood. I
Yeah.
feel like the image alone of what I can recall from being in that timeline of seeing it, my mouth was on the floor. Like I was like, it was truly heartbreaking to actually see it. And I saw it from a device. So it's like picturing people
Yeah.
who are actually in the scenarios and situations. And then this was not just an easy fix. You couldn't just take, we'll get this done in 5 to 7 business days. No,
Yeah.
this was a disaster. Like this had created a domino effect. And not only that, it was like the people in these radius were already in poverty as it is. And then now you add this flood, and it's like what they did have is just like just gone and stuff. And then what bothered me like about this, so many things, but what bothered me the most is the public opinion about the scenario, about the people in these areas
Yes.
saying like, well, why didn't they leave? Well, why this? And a whole bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And it's like, did you see what was going on prior to the flooding? You know what I'm saying? Did you see the
Yeah.
roads? Did you see the housing? Did you see the location? Did you see the red lines? Did you see the intent?
And a lot of people did not have cars.
That's what I'm saying. What do you expect these people to do? Hop on a broom and just snap their fingers and their case is going to be different? Their environment is going to be different? Absolutely not. And I just feel like that is what is heartbreaking about this even scenario is for the court of public opinion is for them to even form their mouths to say the language like that. Well, why did they leave? Well, they got themselves in that situation. They knew the flooding was coming or there was signs. Well, why didn't you go down there and put them in your car and take them away? Like, stop it. Like, you want to have all these opinions. Well, what did you do to help? Like, other than to just belittle them and keep saying the whole shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It's like, again, you don't know the situation of these individuals prior to the flooding. So it's like, stop trying to pack on more opinions that are not going to benefit them, that are not going to help their situation. And it's just, again, it was very, very disheartening. And again, the images alone of the power of water freaks me out. And I'm like in awe that people had to do like that. And I feel like you only got to tell me and show me one time. If that is a real thing, then what are we going to be doing to prevent that in these scenarios? And the fact that she said Kirsten, you said 18,000 people or 13,000 or something people passed away. It was a high number. So I'm
No, it
just
was
like,
1800. It was 1800.
1,800. It's just regardless, it's more than one, you
But
know
yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying?
way too
So I
many.
just
Yeah.
feel like regardless, the number of saying that gives me, like, goosebumps because 'cause I'm like, "Man," like, all that stuff probably got worse because of the situation that was already put in plan prior
Mhm.
to the natural disaster, and then here we are, people are
Oh.
still struggling, still being affected, and it's like, "Come on, y'all, like, we as America have got to do better," and it's like, I feel like as Americans, we don't do better until situations get, like, hit the fan, you know what I'm saying? We're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
man, well, a whole bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, like, what should we have done?" and things like that. It's like, "No, what are we doing prior to eliminate this or to help it not
Right.
be as dramatic and drastic,
Mhm.
when the situation happens." But that was a very, very terrible, terrible situation.
Mhm.
I think it really speaks to a reoccurring theme that we see from Republicans and the conservative movement writ large is that they don't believe in a government that responds to problems. It's like they degrade government services through underfunding, through cuts, through
Mhm.
layoffs to the point where they're not that functional. And that's intentional. They're trying to is a negative feedback loop. And so they if you go to the DMV, who likes going to the DMV because it's mostly terrible service, and it's because it's
Yes.
underfunded. Calling the
Mhm.
IRS, Biden tried to fix it, and then the Republicans rolled back the funding, so there's less IRS agents to go after wealthy tax cheats. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy that the Republicans are doing, and they did it with FEMA. We're seeing it actively now with Trump. Trump was able to fund ICE with $90 billion, which ICE now has a budget that is larger than every other federal law enforcement, including the FBI, the
Mhm.
DOJ combined. This budget is higher than most countries' military budgets. I think the only countries with a higher military budget than America's ICE budget is China and Russia. And if we have enough money to do that, but we don't have enough funds to fully fund FEMA to where they can do an
Right?
adequate response to prepare to be proactive, because
Mm.
we know we are experiencing extreme weather. We know climate change is contributing to this.
But
We
they have
know,
to
like,
admit that climate change is
exactly,
contributing, so
exactly. And so it goes back, the only people they care about are extremely wealthy individuals, and they're able to get a large swath of the population behind them because they are able to, like, government's bad, government doesn't work, because they tried to create that self-fulfilling prophecy. They try to make government um not function and not deliver results. That is on purpose. And there's this old saying, Republicans make a mess and Democrats have to clean it up. That
Mhm.
was true in the
Yep.
90s. That was true when President Obama took over, the worst economic recession since the Depression. Biden had to clean up Trump's mess after his first term with his complete mishandling of COVID. And the next Democratic president is going to have to clean up the mess that we are currently in. And it speaks volumes that New Orleans is still not recovered
Yeah.
after 20 years. And that is a travesty.
Mhm. Yeah. It
And
really
yeah.
is too, and, like, Erica was talking about people saying, like, "Why didn't people leave?" Well,
They couldn't.
their
They couldn't.
culture
Right.
but yeah, but also, like, their culture is so important to them and their
Hmm.
history, and that's a lot of it's gone, and that's it's just, yeah, devastating.
Mhm. Yes, and speaking of travesties and government, it leads us to our next segue of we're going to bring to light about Trump's opinions about what should be placed in this what is it? I do this every time. Smithsonian
Smithsonian, you got it.
Museum. Thank you. I'm sitting here trying to talk about him. If he ever watches, he gonna dig at me too. but but yes, just about his opinion about what should even be like shared in the museums. And some he's like sharing languages that the topic of slavery is why this is even a conversation. Because there's so many things in the museum, but he is nitpicking
Yeah.
specifically on
Mhm.
the topic of one thing. And I feel like he's nitpicking at it because he understands the weight of it and stuff like that. Because why you not talk about all the other stuff in that museum? Like you just specifically isolating this one topic, and the topic is slavery. He wants
Mhm.
to go back to the drawing board because he has mentioned that it is out of control. Not my words, his words. And that to him, the exhibit focused excessively on how horrible our country is and about tailoring it to slavery. And so the White House has announced it will conduct a comprehensive internal review of selected items in our exhibitions in the museum. And the aim is to reconsider how history is presented ahead of the nation's 250th anniversary. Trump has also called for a shift in focus toward emphasizing America's brightness, including the faith, the culture, the innovation, patriotism, rather than dwelling on the bad aspects of slavery. He has also take a stance. This also what I wanted to highlight is that all of this stuff that he is saying about his views now in 2025 was not the same energy he was having about his views on the museum in 2017. During
Mm.
2017's timeline, he was giving praise to the museum. He was giving praise about how they are, exhibiting the culture of, the history, and he called it a beautiful tribute to so many American heroes. So I'm like, why now? Why now? What's the difference between 2017 and 2020 or 2025? And I definitely feel
Uh,
like the difference is the MAGA. I mean, I don't know how
yeah.
else to and I I don't want to water it down. So I want to be very intentional with my words right here because I definitely feel like ever since he has gotten into this position of power is like his minions are like having like control of that freedom of speech. It's like it's gone wild.
Mhm.
It's like his minions are implementing him and stuff like that. They're whatever
Mm.
he says, it's like they can't think on their own 2 feet. It's like they're just implementing him in whatever direction he says, whatever comes out of his mouth. They're like, "Yeah, let's support it. Let's support it." And it's like, "No, that is not what you should be supporting." Like, do you not hear what he's saying? And the fact that he is even saying that the sentence of like, let's just talk about the brightness of America's
Huh.
history. Let's talk about why do we keep saying how bad slavery is? Well, was it good, Trump? Like, please
Right.
remind me what about it was not bad? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's the audacity of him even trying to water it down. And I feel like you go to a museum to learn about history. Like
Mhm.
you're not going to the movie theaters with popcorn and soda. Your intent is
Mhm.
to learn about history. Where do you want them to
Mhm.
go? And I feel like he's just trying to navigate again about what can be talked about our history. And it's like
Mhm.
America is 2 sides of the coin. It's like you got the side that the real, and then you got the side that they're trying to water down. And it's like we're already limited about even learning about slavery. We're already limited about even learning about the culture in schools. You can only learn about certain people. You can
Mm.
only keep it within a certain parameter. If you really want to dive into your culture, you have to go to the African American Museum. You got to go
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
your a generational, your great great grandmother. You got to hear those type of stories as it is to get the truth. But it's like you can't you can't just pick and choose what parts of America that you want to
Mhm.
talk about. If it happened on
Amen.
American soil, then you should talk about it. Like it
Yeah.
happened here
Absolutely.
and it happened in another country, so we can't just pretend like this stuff is not part of our history. And it really aggravates me when he says that we need to bring more brightness into it. There was nothing bright about it. And that is
Yeah.
causing misinformation. That is keeping people
Mhm.
back still in the dark, is keeping them in the past. Is it a hard topic to discuss? Absolutely. But America chose to do it. So if they chose to do it, then we should choose to talk about it. We should choose to
Mhm.
acknowledge what has happened. We're not trying to belittle anybody. We're not trying to belittle families. No, we're not trying to do it. But we are trying to say, this is what happened. And we're not going to like just act like it's all sugar and like glitter and gold because it
Yeah.
absolutely was not. There was nothing bright about it.
Uh,
There is no way that you can like change the narrative. And I am so curious as to what he even wants to suggest to talk about to say, let's make it more bright. Like, I am curious, like, I want to hear some examples. Like, what I'm saying? And then the fact
his
that,
assassination attempt.
yeah,
Huge
like, what?
display. Huge.
Right. Like, exactly. It is just like he's just ignorant, and it breaks my
Mhm,
heart because he is in
Mhm.
such a position of power, as in such a
mhm.
position of influence, in such a position as what's a leader, and it's just like, man, you have so many opportunities to do so much good, to educate, to open doors, and this is what you're doing with your time, and it's just very disturbing.
Mhm.
And it's on purpose. I mean, Trump is intentionally trying to divide us. I forget which of his advisors from the first term came forward and said that he had never met a president who intentionally tries to divide us, that because it benefits him politically. And
Yeah.
that is just it's so unbecoming of the office, and I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I wanna preface it by saying I love America. I love our country. I think we're the greatest country on earth, and America ought to be a force for good in this world. With that being said, we cannot whitewash our history. We have to
Yeah.
tell the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Mhm.
because a reoccurring theme in American history is that we're able to get better.
Mhm.
And I believe the height of patriotism is building that more perfect union. When our founders, as flawed as they created an idea. America is an idea. We're not a blood and soil nationalist country like in Europe or really any other place in the world. America is an idea, and our founders laid out in our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and the early writings, and each generation is able to move us forward. But when we have a president who is wants to erase all the hard stuff, all the stuff that makes you feel a little uncomfortable, we need to be a little uncomfortable because we need to come
Yeah.
to terms with our history, because history this isn't ancient history. This is a few generations ago. Like segregation, there are people alive who experience legal
Mhm.
segregation, and we
Yeah.
still are seeing the impacts of redlining, of Jim Crow, and like the over policing of black communities. Like the data is so clear cut, and the fact that we have someone in power and really an entire political party that tries to just brush it under the rug. That's not history, that's propaganda.
Mhm.
And that makes us no better than, you know, what's happening in Russia. And we'll get to Russia and Vladimir Putin in a little bit. But we have to know our history. We have to know the entirety of our history, because that's the only way we move forward. That's the only way we build a more perfect union.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I also definitely feel like we have to talk about it because the intent is to learn and to grow. The intent is
Mhm.
Mhm.
not to belittle someone, to say that your family was involved 5 years ago, so you're now responsible for all of this stuff. It's like, no, it's like
Mhm.
we need to be able to openly talk about it because it is a discussion. It is part of our history. Like it is
Mhm.
what built our foundation. It was in our laws, like, it was legal,
Mhm.
so it's like, if y'all can make it legal, then we should be able to legally talk about it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
y'all took time out y'all day to make this a law. Not only make a law, y'all took time out, Jay, to update the law to even make it more
Mhm.
specific, you know what I'm saying? So y'all did all these amendments and bylaws and all this stuff and meetings and all this stuff, but now when we just want to simply pass the information on to others, it's a crime. When we want to simply learn about the
Mhm.
information, it's a crime. When we want to share it with a neighbor that's not of our same race, it's a crime. It's like
Mhm.
it's ridiculous how much now when it's our turn to share the information that happened to our people, to our culture, to our America, then it's an issue. And now it's like you can't even go to the museum to learn about it. You can't talk about it in school. It's remove it from the curriculum. Like
Mhm.
now you want to take our holidays. Like it's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's like no, it's like you can't make things convenient when it's convenient for you. It's like we're not doing that anymore. And it's like he wants to keep watering it down and stuff like that. And it's like you can't water down something this
Mhm.
heavy because it affected populations. It's like they use and abuse people, but now it's like we can't talk about it. We're supposed to, say that those things didn't happen. Yes, it's a heavy topic, but again, not specifically Trump, but America chose to
Mhm.
make this a norm. They chose to make it a reality. They chose to have this as a daily reminder of where Black people should be, where Black people,
Yeah.
what their race is, or where not even just Black people, but also just any minority. Let me also throw that out there because it wasn't just Black people being affected or that were slaves. It was like everybody that was not of the white race was like an issue. And so I feel like he is taking power that should not be given to him. He should not have that authoritative or even an opinion about what should be talked about our culture.
Yeah.
Because one, you're not Black, and then two, you're not like you're not not a professor. Like you don't have certain curricular accolades to even try to dictate what is real, what should be watered down, what should be
Mhm.
like discussed as brightest. Like you're not part of that curriculum and part of that that genre to even be trying to share. I remember when the book 1619 came out, that was such a issue for Trump. He came out with another book that was created from people who weren't even scholars. I think it was like called 14
Mhm.
something because he was just so offended that there was a book that talked about the creation of slavery, what all it meant, how it affected so many people that you went out and took time to make your own book that didn't even have
Mhm.
scholars who validate the information. And so there it is again. It's like you're misinforming about a topic that has gotten
Mhm.
underneath your skin. And it's like, relax, because we need to know this, regardless if you're Black, if you're
Mhm.
white,
Yeah.
if you're Asian, if you know, everybody needs to know this because it was a reality. And we're not trying to go back into that. We're not trying to take 2 steps back
Well,
and have
yeah,
that.
and there's like I'm gonna butcher this quote or something, but it's like history that stays in the darkness is doomed to repeat itself, something
Mhm.
along those lines. So it's like you have to talk, and I think a lot of that is like, people that deny the Holocaust or like people that don't want to talk about that. I mean, and this is the same, um, not the same, but both
Mhm,
atrocities. And if we don't talk about them, then who's to say couldn't happen again?
mhm, and
And
well,
to
I don't
make
need go
matters
ahead.
worse, like the Department of Defense under Trump renaming those military bases after
Oh,
Confederate
yeah.
generals, it makes no sense to me. Like, what is the purpose of that other than to sow division and to
Mhm,
put his, um, scorn on display? Because, like, under the Biden administration, a lot of all of the military bases named after Confederate generals were renamed, like Fort Liberty and whatnot. But now they're reverting back to this. Like, why are we naming military bases after people who fought to destroy the Union in order to preserve chattel slavery? Like that, it
mhm,
makes no sense to me. And if we ignore our history and instead adopt this propaganda as a narrative, that there then we can't grow, we can't improve, we can't form a more perfect union. And
mhm.
it's sad that in 2025 we are having this conversation, but nonetheless it is reality.
Mhm. And then prior to Trump, I don't recall any other, like, presidents or vice presidents, people on the board who had an issue with the information being shared at museums. It's like no one
No.
had, like, brought people to the table like, "Hey, there's something going on with this museum. I think we need to add a little bit more brightness in it." It's like, I don't know. It's like, why you're the only one that has had an issue with anything going on at the museum. And then
Mhm.
I question who even when he decides to, like, make these changes, I wanna see who are you conversing with to even make these changes? Like, I need to see their resume. I need to see like their history, like because these people are going to be playing major roles in the information that is being altered in these museums. So I feel like we all, the public, needs to even know who is even involved in that discussion.
Mhm.
It's the hacks at the Heritage Foundation, the same people who came up with Project 2025, which they are actively implementing, which for the record, Trump's like, I know nothing about it, then
Yeah.
appoints everyone who was involved in it and are actively implementing those policies. And we know what's going to happen. They're trying to take away all the advancements that we have made, including
Yeah.
they've now set their sights on gay marriage. And that is just the
So
beginning.
that.
They're trying to claw back our rights. They're trying to claw back all the progress we've made. And it's these people who at the Heritage Foundation and that conservative ecosystem, like PragerU, which was
Oh gosh.
it, which and they defunded PBS, they defunded
Yes.
Big Bird, and instead they're like, oh, this
Big Bird.
PragerU, which is these are not scholars, these are propagandists, and they are sowing this narrative that just it makes them feel good, but is ahistorical, is inaccurate. And so these private nonprofits are getting taxpayer money to spew propaganda, and it's another travesty.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's bring in some real brightness to this episode. We are going to go ahead and get ready to invite our next special guest. I'm going to do a quick introduction and then I'm going to let him hop on. Today, we are excited to welcome Barrett Gruber to the host of the All About Nothing podcast, a well-established show with over 500 episodes available. And it also known as one of Columbia's best local podcasts. His podcast, along with his wonderful team, definitely don't want to leave them out, has received significant recognition in South Carolina. They have won the Best Podcast Award in 2023 and was recently the runner-up for that same honor in 2024 and 2025. This episode, or their podcast, explores diverse topics in the episodes ranging from personal stories to community events to creating an overall engaging and conversational atmosphere for the listeners. So the one and only Barrett Gruber, come on down. Oh! That's how you make an entrance.
Oh,
I'm
hello.
telling
Well,
you.
hello. A little ray of sunshine. That's what I talk about.
Welcome.
This is what you call prop comedy.
Yes.
Also, this appearance brought to you by Hollow Creek Distillery. Try their low
There you go.
country. What is this? This is their flavored vodka. So
Low country. I know.
Straight
Go
out the
ahead, plug
bottle.
it in.
Okay.
Right.
Welcome,
Welcome,
I just want
Barrett.
to say, you guys have the greatest green room in the history of podcasts. Like, I also, I want to comment real quick. You all were discussing Fort Bragg being renamed back to Fort Bragg. Caveat to that, they didn't name it after General Bragg of the Confederate Army. They renamed it after Private First Class Roland L. Bragg, who fought in the Battle of the Bulge. So
Okay.
a lot of people don't know that part of it. They just think, oh, we got our Confederate general back and we've renamed it. No, they created a situation of misinformation with that so that they could basically profitize someone that didn't need to be profitized. You know, General Bragg was a failure. He was a loser. He was part of the Confederacy as a whole group of losers. And to tell people, oh, we're renaming it back to Fort Bragg under the caveat that it's not actually your general anymore. It's a private first class that served in World War II. Insane. The amount of the amount of effort that goes into the propaganda on the for the Trump administration is just absolutely absurd, and I'm constantly dumbfounded by how unintelligent the people part of MAGA that support this administration and continue to do it without any recognition of just how dumb they look. Because what's going to happen is history will be written, and what is written isn't necessarily always written by the victors. It isn't, it's something that we like to say and we like to think that the history is written by the victors. It's not. It's written by the historians that do the research into what happened. And ultimately, it is going to reflect very poorly on these people that continue to believe that misinformation is real. And I'm constantly dumbfounded by the fact that somehow we have stumbled into the dumbest timeline ever.
Yeah.
Third drink.
All right. Well, Barrett, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll be back many more. And a little fun fact, Barrett is our producer. Barrett, who's on your team? I definitely want to shout out everybody. I didn't want to miss everybody, but yeah, can we shout them out real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So Zach King is my co-host. We are partners in the All About Nothing podcast, and we've been doing it for years. And basically, we do the All About Nothing podcast as sort of what we describe as being good therapy. Like it's something that it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't even pay for itself. We'd love for it to, but it's basically a podcast we do every week to express our opinions about the social issues and the politics and the news. And as well, we bring on really fascinating guests. We had the voice of Minnie Mouse on recently. We had a professor of data and statistics from Cal State Berkeley, who, you would think that this would be an extremely boring conversation, but when you actually get to talk to these people and get to know them. Actually, when this episode drops, we're releasing an episode with a woman named Adina Maynard, who is a retired oncology nurse who, when she retired from nursing, decided that she wanted to create a mobile video game called Cattywampus to basically replace or be a competitor to what Wordle is, but it's much more difficult. And the whole idea is that it
is hard. After you told me about it, I downloaded it, and it is challenging.
It is. But she did that not because she wants to make money. She did it because the game itself really does trigger parts of the brain that stifle the dementia. It stifles the potential autism that's to come because it reactivates those parts of the brain that then keep that brain functioning, keeps those synapses running. And the conversation was absolutely intriguing, and I have become friends with this woman who is ultimately, I want to see the absolute success. She talked about some of the new updates that are coming to this game, the mobile game available on Android and Apple, and it's just, but that's the kind of thing that we do on our podcast is we talk to people that have something interesting to talk about, and we've been doing it now for 8 years, or I've been doing this for 8 years. I started after Trump got elected because I worked in an office with a bunch of people that were very supportive of Donald Trump and expressed their opinions about Donald Trump and his administration very vocally in the office, to which I had opposite opinions, so I couldn't. And my friend to me said, "Why don't you start a podcast?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And it literally, like what we do now with you guys and with the All About Nothing and several other podcasts that are under the big media umbrella, it's so much easier now because all I have to do is upload the video, add some comments and notes and things to it, and it just publishes. But there was a day when I had to go in and actually write code for the RSS feed that would then be distributed to every podcast network. And then that was what actually distributed the podcast. And I would record for 30 or 40 minutes on a Wednesday night and then spend the next 2 hours writing code. So, it's progressed. You have to pay for it, but it's progressed to the point now where it's much more simple. And we have, under the big media umbrella, we have some extremely talented content, including you guys. Priest Jacobs, who is a local to Columbia disc jockey. He's a DJ, and he also got Best of Columbia hip hop artist. He has a podcast that he sits down and either just talks about issues, especially the Black community here in Columbia, South Carolina, or nationwide, as well as has some really fantastic guests that they talk about the Black community and the art and things like that here in Columbia, South Carolina, especially in the Southeast too. So it's really, really interesting. So that's
you didn't
me.
bring up Kimmel, or not Kimmel.
Oh, yeah. Bill Kimmel is also Bill Kimmel every Tuesday.
I love Bill Kimmel.
Every Tuesday and Thursday.
We gotta plug him in.
Every yeah, I got you.
Thank you. There you go. Yes.
Every yeah, that's I come with the sounders.
That's what I need. I need to invest in that.
Bill Kimmler is the host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks, Dr. Jamil Brooks is absolutely one of my most favorite people on the planet because she comes with an intensity and an authenticity that is absolutely necessary in democratic politics. And but every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 5:30 a.m., Bill Kimler and I host a live broadcast of the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show where we discuss things that we want to talk about, current events, politics, social things, and we distribute that as content because always distributing content is good for your show. So
I cannot keep
Bill
up
Kimler's
with
amazing.
Yeah, he is. I can't keep up with how often and how much y'all put out. I am amazed. But nonetheless, thank you, Barrett, for joining in. Now you can be a part of our
Absolutely.
conversation for the remainder of this show. I want to hand it over to Jay Money, though, for
I'm
this
going to put
next
this
segment.
away.
Awesome. So let's talk about Trump and Vladimir Putin. So recently, Trump rolled out the red carpet in Alaska for, I guess you can describe it as a meet cute because nothing substantial came out of it. Trump was like, we're going to get a ceasefire, blah, blah, blah. Well, Vladimir Putin got the prestige of meeting with the president of the United States, and there's no ceasefire.
Shocker.
Which, right? But this just speaks to a history of Trump just acquiescing to Vladimir Putin. The former prime minister of Australia recently said that he was in a meeting with both Putin and Trump, and he said Trump acts like a 12-year-old boy when he's around Putin. And it's because Putin is who Trump wants to be. And for those who are not familiar with Russian politics, after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a very brief time where there was a lot of hope for Russia to develop into a democratic country, to join the West. But Vladimir Putin, over the past quarter century, has made that an impossibility at this point. He has said that the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. And now we are seeing him with what he's doing in Ukraine, with what he did in Chechnya, with what he did in the country of Georgia. He is trying to rebuild the Soviet empire. And he literally kills his political opponents. Russia is considered an illiberal democracy, not liberal as in Democrat, but liberal with a little L, where they have the trappings of elections, but there's no real choice. They know who the winner is going to be. And in this meeting in Alaska, Putin knows how to work Trump. He flatters Trump. He says, "You won the 2020 election, blah, blah, blah." And it's the mail-in ballots is what they did. No country in the world does mail-in ballots. There are dozens of countries that use mail-in ballots. It's how our military service members vote. And Trump's own Department of Justice in 2020, after he started spreading the big lie, concluded that our election was safe and secure, and that there was no widespread fraud that was going to change the outcome. It was adjudicated. He lost like 70 times in a court of law. There's no evidence. And now he's bringing back the big lie because he can't admit defeat. And now he's attacking mail-in balloting because of Vladimir Putin put that back in his head. And what are we going to do with our service members overseas?
Yeah,
how are they going to vote?
And just so people are clear, in the history of the United States, mail-in voting has been at the heart of how votes were cast for since 1783, since 1792. This has been one of the things that has been a staple of voting in the United States, especially as you all were discussing before. White men who owned land had the ability to vote in the early days of this country, and they had the ability to cast their vote through the post, through the post, and that's how they did it. They didn't travel to Washington, D.C. Delegates didn't always have the availability of going to Philadelphia or New York City to cast votes. They used the post. They used a postman to deliver that mail and that vote so that their vote was counted. It has been a staple for the United States since its founding. And the idea that again, it goes back to this misinformation idea. It seems like that the administration can say something that fundamentally is wrong, but because it came out of the mouth or the fingertips of Donald Trump through his Truth Social, he can say these things, and for some reason, these individuals that have they have to know better. I mean, we've all been educated in what is the public education system of the United States, and I think that I had a decent, if not higher, bit of education than what I see being available for children and teenagers now. But there's still fundamental things that are taught in this education system that should absolutely reject some of the things that Donald Trump says, or that his administration, or Caroline Levitt comes out and says. By the way, Gavin Newsom, fantastic job on that. Your staff's ability to imitate and mock Donald Trump at the same
Brilliant.
time is just chef's kiss.
I know, right? That's
it's
right.
perfect.
He bringing that same energy
I think
that they give out.
I think this really speaks to a broader problem in the conservative media ecosystem, because take example Fox News, which is the most widely watched newscaster in the country. They will literally make shit up, and then they will quietly issue a retraction. Or they'll get sued and lose $1 billion when they were spreading the big lie about Dominion voting systems, and they were on the hook for $1 billion to Dominion, because thankfully in the courts in our country, you either put up or shut up, and you either prove your assertions, and they couldn't, because it's literally a lie. And I tried to stay apprised of what the right wingers are saying, so I keep track of I'm still on Twitter to see what they're saying, and it's they all have the same talking lines, and it's all outrage, and it gets people riled up, and it's at best it's specious, but any kind of investigation, it falls apart. And then it's used as a guise for like what Trump's doing with the occupation of Washington D.C., or sending troops to Los Angeles. It's a pretext. It's a self-fulfilling pretext, and unfortunately, the right in our country are very good at what they're doing. They have created a media ecosystem that is self-reinforcing, and there is nothing comparable on the left.
Well, and it should be pointed out as well that they have also and look, I will just say this. I don't consider myself to be an atheist, because the idea of not believing in something sounds stupid. Like, to put a name on something where you just don't believe in something sounds dumb to me. I am someone that is heavily driven when it comes to data and analytics and proof. And while I was a practicing Catholic for many, many years, I was always disappointed in the Catholic Church's handling of everything involving children and the abuse and things like that. And then I looked at Christianity as a whole. It's not just the Catholic Church. Fundamentally, it is every denomination. There is something going on in churches around the country and around the world that is abusive towards people. We literally have a podcast that's going to be coming on big media called The Awakening Podcast, which is literally two religious trauma survivors talking to other religious trauma survivors.
Oh, wow.
There's a problem with Christianity, but to the point, and I'm trying to find my way back to it. It is that group of evangelical people, and I'm not casting shade on anyone, but there is already the foundation of a belief structure that allows for them to give grace and to give this sense of belief to people that they already want to give to, that the Trump administration and the Republican Party have found a way to grab a hold of and continue to just shake them for everything that they're worth. And if these people, eventually what's going to happen is, and it always does, is there's always a reformation. There is always an enlightening that happens. We are in the darkest period of what the Donald Trump administration and MAGA have created. That pendulum has swung as far as it can to the left. It's going to, or to the right. It is going to swing back to the left. And when it does, we will see such an enlightened period. And that's the hope that I have. But to your point, they have grabbed a hold of the weakest minded people in the country. And those are the ones with the loudest voices. Democrats have to be louder. We can't be reactive. We have to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
We have to acknowledge that some of our messaging in the past has not been quite in line with what the country needs. And that is, I don't disagree that the LGBTQ plus community needs to be held and protected because they are so attacked by the right. Mm-hmm. But making or creating a message that is primarily focused on that protection, it has harmed the Democratic message. I agree with it wholeheartedly, but it's the messaging and how it's been pushed, and ultimately it needs to be more and it's hard to say this, but it needs to be more inclusive to those communities to be involved in it, not just to say we support them, but that they are in here. This is their space. This is everyone's space. This is conservative space. I consider myself
a universal message.
Yeah, I consider myself to be I don't consider myself to be a Democrat. I consider myself to be a progressive liberal who is socially progressive, but also fiscally conservative, because I recognize that our government spends our money in ways that I wish that they would curtail. I wish that they would do it better, but they don't. I don't want higher taxes on me, but I want the taxes to be even across the board. So I fiscally conservative. Bill Kimmler gets on me all the time. Whenever I say this, he's always like, there's no such thing as a fiscal conservative and progressive liberal or a social progressive. Yes, there is. There is, because we can do the correct things with the money that they have available to take care. The only thing that our federal government is intended to do is take care of the people that are paying into it, or the people that are on inside the borders of this country. I don't care if they're here illegal. I don't care if they are here without the proper documentation. This is so much. Anyway, I know you want to move on, so let's move on. Let's go on, because I'll just go on a diatribe.
But I just feel like anybody that is Putin is so cringe. I thought Trump was cringe, but Putin is like a whole nother level. The Kremlin is a whole nother level of a cringe. And not only cringe, he's like borderline scary. Like, he's not getting on my Christmas card delivery this year. But
he is a villain, a real life villain.
You're right. He is like you put him in a room with like other Bond villains, like or a lineup. You put him in a lineup with other Bond villains, and you're James Bond, and you have to pick out which one is the worst. There's no way Putin exits that room not in handcuffs.
Right. He's so cringe and creepy, and like he's the type of person where you believe the stories. You're like, oh, that kind of looks like it might be him. I think he might do that actually. It's giving weird. But let's go ahead and end on something fun. Kirsten is actually going to lead us with the 2 truths and a lie. I know this will be our first time with the special guest and a co-host joining us today, so it's going to be real fun. So go ahead, Kirsten, take it away.
I know. I'm trying to figure out who gets the points, because I'm the reigning 2 truths and a lie champ. So I'm like, I invited Justin and Barrett. So do I have like 2 chances? I don't know.
That's gotta sting a little bit, Erica.
It does. Just
she'll have her time.
But I won one time, so hey, it counts. Emily, I don't think she's won at all, so it could be worse.
All right. So since my topic was about Hurricane Katrina, my 2 truths and a lie are going to be Katrina related. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So first one, 50,000 tons of ice were ordered by FEMA after the disaster at a cost of $100 million. But the ice never made it to New Orleans. Instead, it was delivered to states across the country. 2, By 2019, 30.9% of Katrina-affected New Orleanians were still living elsewhere. And 3, after the hurricane, Wolf Blitzer showed images of masses of Black people at the Superdome and some looting businesses on television. And he says, they're so poor, they're so Black.
So just to understand, all of that sounds unbelievably plausible.
I'm like, what? I'm over here like, say it again one more time. Like, what?
And
Not Wolf Blitzer. Not Wolf Blitzer.
and disturbing. I mean, kudos to Wolf Blitzer for being on the air for more than 40 years, but out of respect for him, let's move on. Like, retirement's got to look pretty good for him at this point.
And this was in 2005, so, you know.
Oh, gosh.
Wait, that wasn't the lie?
Right. Repeat the first one again, Kirsten.
Okay. 50,000 tons of ice were ordered by FEMA after the disaster at a cost of $100 million. But the ice never made it to New Orleans. Instead, it was delivered to states across the country.
Excuse me. So the 50,000 part feels oddly specific. That feels to me like that the intent is to potentially, and I'm not giving the floor to Justin or Erica because, again, data analytics. I feel like the first one, while I don't feel like it's a lie, I feel like it might be misleading because I think I remember hearing a story about FEMA's delivery of necessities, and I feel like it was more ice than that. So I'm going to say number 1 because I think that it was somewhere more around the 100,000 pounds of ice, but that could be
not
off.
Pounds, tons.
Tons, yeah, tons of ice. I'm going to say number 1. So I'll let you guys go.
Say Wolf Blitzer one more time.
After the hurricane, Wolf Blitzer showed images of masses of Black people at the Superdome and some looting businesses on television. And he says, they're so poor, they're so Black.
That has to be the lie. I refuse.
I think that's the lie.
Yeah,
I don't think he said that.
I want to give Justin and Erica an opportunity to also say the words Wolf Blitzer just to see what effect it has, because Erica seemed oddly attracted to that. Say Wolf Blitzer again.
Wolf Blitzer. No.
Wolf Blitzer.
I'm going to try. Wolf Blitzer.
It's a mouthful.
I'm going to say it's 3 because I refuse. I like him and I still want to like him. I'm going to say he better not, man. He better not disappoint me.
So right, I'm with Erica.
You're going with that one too? Okay. So the winner is Barrett.
Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's no way he
right.
said that.
His line of thinking, it was 91,000 tons of ice. So it wasn't misleading. But yeah, he did say that.
So and just so you all understand, my father worked for FEMA during Hurricane Katrina. So one of the things that I did, he was a FEMA supervisor. So he was on the ground during Hurricane Katrina. I felt like that number seemed low, but it also seemed oddly specific. It seemed like oddly specific. But even 90, if you had said 90,000, I would have been like, no, that feels weird. But
yeah,
hold on,
and
I'm receiving something. This just no one cares about your daddy. No, I'm joking.
Oh,
it's just in breaking news.
I was like, "Ooh, what happened?"
You know what? And to that, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. People comment on our podcast all the time because I say things like, you know what? I wish the last conversation I had with my father was the last conversation I had with my father. Again,
at least keeps it real.
Comedy, humor.
Yeah. I feel like I wonder if he said that like to be like a catchy thing, like to get someone's attention, because it definitely got my attention. So I'm wondering about his delivery. Sometimes it's not the message. It could be the delivery.
No, it was very much like the media during Hurricane Katrina was horrific. I mean, it just like painted Black people in such a horrific, like especially people were looting businesses because they were stuck at the freaking Superdome with no food or water for days. Like white people are going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're desperate, but because they were breaking in, they were saying like, oh, look at these crazy Black animals. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah. And just to be clear, looting is not a symptom of a natural disaster that is only the Black community. This is a symptom of every single community because there is such a and it is a fact that our government does not work even under Biden, under Obama, under Trump, under George Bush. Our government does not work at an efficiency that should step in. Western North Carolina is a prime example. Western North Carolina still has people living in tents, still has people that have don't have a post office box that they can receive benefits that would help them get their lives back in line. Ultimately, because the Biden administration, and I'm a realist, the Biden administration dropped the ball. The Trump administration continues just to punt that ball down the street. No one is giving attention to the actual issues that need resolution. And in the end, those are the people that are going to turn around and say, you know what, Biden didn't do it for us. We're going to vote for Trump. You know what? Yeah. Trump didn't do it for us. We're going to vote for the Democrat that's running. That is, and again, that's that pendulum. People are completely reactive to what their situation is. We talk about the economy and reflect on where the economy is at. Yeah, when Biden was president, the economy based on the stock market was high. My 401k was doing fantastic. Inflation, where it was at, was great for my investments. But it wasn't a reflection of what people were actually going through, and the Democratic Party missed that messaging. Where the Trump administration, despite the fact that they got it completely wrong, people attached themselves to it based on what Trump was doing or what his campaign was doing, and not recognizing those problems is what cost the election. Also, the fact that I still think that there was potential manipulation to the election, but again, data. But it's just one of those things that we can only Monday morning quarterback what happened and reflect on how do we make it right. And the Democrats, in my opinion, aren't really setting themselves up for success because they have found the right way to attach messaging to what's actually going on. They're going to find success in 2028, but it's going to be because of the reaction from the voters to what they're seeing at that moment. And there's still the possibility that Donald Trump could turn it around and bring his poll numbers up by legalizing marijuana or potentially getting that win by ending the war in Ukraine. There are so many things that his administration could potentially do. And while I want those things, I don't want them under Trump. I don't want Trump to be able to have a victory lap around the NASCAR track because he got it done under his administration.
Especially marijuana. Come on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Trump is not going to be bringing nothing up. I saw his ankles the other day, and they are struggling to keep the upper body intact. Okay, so with that being said, I do want to thank our special co-host for joining our episode today. Thank you, Barrett. You've been such a wonderful guest. J Money serving everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Love you guys. Until next time, keep it politically speaking.
Bye.
Y'all take care.
This is Kirsten Pruitt. Please subscribe to the show wherever you find podcasts and consider leaving us a rating. You can find links to our social media and YouTube page in the show notes. Thanks again for listening.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by its host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.